Buddhism on Rebirth and Reincarnation explained. Rebirth is not reincarnation. Understanding rebirth in Buddhism. Hello, and welcome. Today, we're going to explore one of the most profound and often misunderstood teachings in Buddhism, rebirth and reincarnation. But hold on, this isn't about a permanent soul hopping from one body to another. Instead, it's about the flow of consciousness, constantly changing and interconnected with the universe. So sit back, relax, and let's unravel the mysteries of rebirth and reincarnation through the Buddhist lens, together. Understanding dependent origination. Before we get into what rebirth truly means, we first need to understand the concept of dependent origination, or Paikasamupta. This teaching shows how everything in the universe is interconnected, like a vast, intricate web where every thread influences another. Imagine a spider weaving its web, with each thread essential to its structure. In the same way, our lives, our actions, and our consciousness are all interwoven, dependent on one another. Nothing exists in isolation. Visual transitions to a close-up shot of a spider's web being gently blown by the wind, each thread moving in unison with the others. Host, gentle, guiding tone. Everything we do, think, and say affects the world around us. And, in turn, the world around us influences who we are. This cycle of interdependence is key to understanding life, death, and rebirth in Buddhism. The Buddha taught that nothing is fixed. Everything is in a constant state of flux. And this, my friends, is the essence of what Buddhism means by life itself, change. The illusion of the self. Now, we come to a critical part of the teaching, anatta, or the concept of no self. In Buddhism, we don't believe in a permanent, unchanging self or soul. This is different from many other religions that teach about an eternal soul that moves from one life to another. Instead, Buddhism teaches us that what we perceive as self is an illusion, a temporary collection of thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Think of the self like a river. The water that flows today is not the same water that flowed yesterday. It's constantly moving, changing, and transforming. Just like a river, our thoughts, emotions, and experiences flow through us. They shape who we are at this moment. But they do not define us as permanent beings. Rebirth and the flow of consciousness. Here's where things get even more fascinating. Rebirth in Buddhism is not about the transfer of a permanent soul from one body to another. Instead, it's about the continuation of a stream of consciousness. This stream is ever-changing, influenced by our actions, intentions, and desires, and it continues from one life to the next. Imagine this stream like a river that flows from one place to another, never stopping, constantly evolving. Our actions and karma shape this river, determining how the next part of the flow unfolds. The scene transitions to a visual of a flowing river, but this time it splits into several smaller streams, each representing different life paths influenced by various actions. This stream of consciousness, or Siddhasantana, is what continues after death. It's not a soul or a fixed I that carries over, but rather the seeds of our actions and mental patterns, our karma, that shape the next moment, the next life. It's like planting seeds today that grow into flowers tomorrow. What we plant in this life, through our actions and thoughts, determines the kind of flowers, or experiences, we'll face in the next, the role of karma in rebirth, and that brings us to karma. In Buddhism, karma is often misunderstood. It's not about punishment or reward. Karma is simply the law of cause and effect. Every action, every word, and every thought generates a ripple effect, creating consequences, both in this life and in the next. If we act with kindness and compassion, we sow seeds of happiness and peace. If we act with greed, hatred, or ignorance, we sow seeds of suffering. Karma doesn't store a record of our sins or virtues. Rather, it's about the energy we put into the world. If we approach life with love, understanding, and mindfulness, we're more likely to experience peace and joy in return. But if we act out of fear, anger, or selfishness, we may encounter difficulties and suffering. Breaking free from the cycle of suffering, but here's the most liberating part of Buddhism: we're not stuck in this cycle of suffering. The Buddha's teachings show us a path to break free from the cycle of rebirth and suffering, through the practice of mindfulness, ethical living, and wisdom. By living in accordance with the Noble Eightfold Path, we can begin to purify our consciousness, eliminate negative karma, and awaken to the truth of our interconnectedness. This path consists of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. By following this path, we begin to see through the illusion of the self and understand that we are not separate from others but deeply connected to all beings. The Buddhist view on reincarnation versus other traditions. Now, let's take a moment to compare Buddhism's view of rebirth with other spiritual traditions. Many people are familiar with the idea of reincarnation, particularly in Hinduism, where the soul moves from one body to another, in a process known as samsara. In Hinduism, the ultimate goal is to achieve liberation, or moksha, where the soul is freed from this cycle of reincarnation and merges with the divine. Similarly, in certain branches of Western philosophy, like Plato's teachings, there's an idea of an eternal soul. And reincarnation is seen as a way for the soul to purify itself over time. Even in Sikhism, reincarnation is seen as a way for the soul to work through its karmic debt until it attains liberation, or mukti. But in Buddhism, reincarnation isn't about a permanent soul passing from life to life. Instead, it's the ongoing flow of consciousness, shaped by karma, carrying the imprints of past actions into future experiences. The key difference is that Buddhism doesn't believe in an eternal, unchanging soul. There is only change, evolution, and transformation, practical application in daily life. So, how does this all apply to our everyday lives? Understanding rebirth and reincarnation in Buddhism isn't just about pondering the mysteries of the afterlife, it's about how we live right now. By observing our thoughts, actions, and intentions, we can see how they shape our future experiences. This moment, this very breath, is a chance to change the course of our future. And the beautiful part is that we can begin today. Every act of kindness, every thought of compassion, every moment of awareness has the power to transform not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us. By embracing this understanding, we begin to create a better world for ourselves and for future generations. So, what have we learned today? In Buddhism, rebirth isn't about an unchanging soul passing from one body to the next. It's about the continuous flow of consciousness, shaped by our actions and intentions. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, we can break free from the cycle of suffering and create a future filled with peace and understanding. Thank you for joining me on this journey of understanding. May we all awaken to the truth of our interconnectedness and live with greater mindfulness and compassion in every moment. Until next time, may peace and wisdom guide you.